Hey everyone, my guest today is Carl Abel. Carl is the founder of Crayon Box Politics, a civic information and media platform making government data clear, accessible, and human. A retired Marine Corps gunnery sergeant, he brings 2 decades of leadership and public service to his mission of improving civic understanding. His projects, including The Archivist, Crayon Box Weekly, and Political Baseball Cards, connect transparency and technology to reimagine engagement with democracy. Known for his candid, witty commentary, Carl is an emerging voice on civic tech, political culture, and the future of informed citizenship. Welcome to the show, Carl. I want to thank you for being here today. And I am wondering if you can tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, thank you for having me, first and foremost. My name is Carl Abel. I'm a retired gunnery sergeant. I did 20 years in the Marine Corps. This is actually my first full year as a retired civilian, so to speak. My last active duty day was the 31st of December of last year. So I entered into the new year as a new me, literally.
Yeah.
But I've been a political animal, so to speak, since I can remember. I mean, I told my grandmother when I was a little kid that I was going to be president one day. As I grew older and learned what it meant to be president, I've changed my mind. I don't want to be president ever, but I do have a passion for politics, and so my ultimate end goal is to run for office. But in order to do that, I figured that the best way to get my name out there and get an understanding for where I stood on the issues was to have a podcast, which is a great idea at the time. And then it turned into, wow, this is a lot more work than I thought it was. But as I did my research and developed my understanding for the way things worked, I started to realize that there was a gap in knowledge. And that gap in knowledge is specifically associated with, one, the civic nature of our government and how it works, how it functions. And also specifically what the differences are between a bill and a statute and a law and an executive order. We learn this in high school, and I don't know if they really teach it in depth in high school anymore, but it's not as the scope is not there. So what I've done is I've taken my podcast and we've now turned it into a civic technology company where we're in the process of developing an AI platform called The Archivist, which is designed and will be able to handle basic communication with the average American while also pulling the data directly from the source. So rather than having you or I have to figure out, okay, so if I'm in Iowa, what state website do I need to go to find out what legislation is currently on the floor? And then how do I determine if that legislation is on the floor, if it's waiting to go on the floor, if it's already been passed? Like, what does that process look like? The archivist is going to be able to handle that. It's a daunting task because every state is different, and the federal government, of course, is different. And even it's inside the federal government, each institution and the way that they store information is different. So as we develop that, I mean, it's a slow process, but the idea is we're trying to bring that information to the public. But in addition to that, and we had this great idea, what if we created baseball collector cards for our politicians, right? And the focus is, these are going to be trading cards. So we'll be able to release them in batches, like 2025 Republican Congressional Caucus or the House Freedom Caucus, right? So you'll be able to buy these things, collect them, trade them, and then they get updated every single year. So that's kind of where we're looking at as far as how are we going to fund this behemoth of a thing that we're building. Well, hopefully the baseball cards will kick off and people will want to trade their politicians like they trade baseball personnel.
Yeah, I would definitely participate in that. That sounds like a really fun way to get involved in politics and to spread awareness as well. There's a lot of people that don't know a lot about their own state, and I totally get it. You learn about stuff I remember we visited our Iowa Capitol in, like, 5th or 6th grade. You kind of don't really touch base on a lot of that stuff the 1 year that you learn about it, and you do kind of forget about it.
Mhm.
So, yeah. And also, thank
That's
you for your service.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, so I joined the military with a desire to serve, but also with that ulterior motive of I need to get this under my belt so that I can run for office.
Yeah.
Um, my initial plan was to do 5 years, and that turned into 20.
Yeah.
So I woke up. I went to sleep one night, and I woke up, and I was retiring. I was like, "Wait, what? Where did the time go?"
What do I Yeah. Yeah. That's so how did your service shape the way you analyze politics and public policy today?
um, I like to I say this a lot because this is one of my reflective points. But had you and I talked 20 years ago when I was
Uh-huh.
just getting into the Marine Corps, and had the MAGA movement been a thing 20 years
Yeah.
ago, I would have joined in with the MAGA movement.
Yeah.
And I say that because when I first left my home environment, which was ultra conservative,
Yeah.
um, I left with those ultra conservative ideals, right? And
Yeah.
um, I was also I was in the closet at the time, right? And
Mhm.
when I first joined, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was in effect, and
Mhm.
I had to make sure that I kept that under wraps about myself.
Yeah.
What all that resulted in is me taking a few actions that I regret. Namely being the fact that I actively engaged in homophobic jokes, and I would take part in the making fun of people who did wind up getting outed. Now, I never outed
Mhm.
anyone, but I did those things in a manner that was it. Looking back on it, I was a horrible person when I was a kid, or
We
young
all are,
adult,
though.
and
Yeah.
I regret some of that, but I've learned from it. And
Yeah.
as I grew through the military, right, the military kind of taught us a few things, and or taught me a few things, um, specifically with regards to personal growth. Um,
Mhm.
and one of the biggest things was leadership is all about respecting those that you're leading,
Yeah.
and you can't talk to people like they don't rate your respect, because if you don't respect them, they're not going to respect you.
Mhm.
And that one thing has kind of shaped my values as I've gone through and gotten older. I've always held on to the conservative side of things, and I've always held
Mhm.
on to the fact that I was a registered Republican up until this past weekend, when I actively tried to engage with some conservative members of my state and wound up getting attacked because I did not support the president who sitting in the Oval Office right now,
Wow.
because I have personal reasons why I don't think that he's a good fit for that office.
Uh-huh.
And so as a result, I took a step back, and I looked at,
Yeah.
all right, so what have I learned about myself? What have I learned about the Republican Party? I took a look at the platform for the Republican Party since 2004,
Mhm.
and I realized that the party and I have been splitting over
Mhm.
the last 2 decades. And it's largely on the fact of the Republican Party has been moving further and further away from the middle than where I stand. Now, have I
Yeah.
moved left? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, but for the most part, my views still remain that center right mantra where, I'm a conservative at heart.
Mhm.
I don't want to do a lot of things that are super fast and super changing, and all of a sudden we realize, hey, these are the negatives, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also believe that progress is more important than being regressive in nature when it comes to policy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry that you had that experience with people. Um, my background's similar to yours, but but almost the opposite. Like, I got into politics, around 14. It was Bush versus Gore, and I learned about the Electoral College, and, like, uh, I love the environment. I love animals. I love everything to do with it. And typically, it's the left that's usually pushing for better environmental policy and stuff like that. And so I'd always been on the left. But then living in Austin, Texas, and seeing, oh, you're vegetarian, well, you're really not making a difference unless you're vegan, or just the way I was treated simply for the color of my skin or whatever. It's like, you guys don't know anything about how I grew up. It just kind of, I don't know, and just immigration policies and stuff like that. It switched me to the right. Now, does that mean I've completely abandoned the left? Like, absolutely not. But interacting with people who assume that you're on one side can be interesting, and then getting pushback from people because of what you think. And I think there's something weird going on with the Republican Party that's right now that's really bad that's happening, where they're turning on each other because you don't support one thing. And I don't know why people think you have to support someone 100% of the time to still be their supporter. And I hate that. There's been a lot of things with, I voted for Trump. There's been a lot of things that I haven't liked with this term. That doesn't mean that I don't still support him or our country or anything like that. But I don't know, it's turning me against both parties really right now is what my
Mhm.
situation is.
Hence,
So,
for me, hence the name Crayon Box Politics, right? The the name actually came out of a few things.
mhm,
One, there's this Filipino influencer who described Filipino politics as a box of crayons, because
yeah,
each candidate, they basically embrace their favorite color. So their entire
okay,
campaign is surrounded by their specific favorite color. And so you wind
yeah,
up with like a red candidate and a blue candidate and a purple candidate. And it's a whole robust number of colors. And
yeah,
I grabbed on that. And I was like, that's an interesting point of view. And then the other piece that I pulled from was being a Marine, the Air Force,
mhm,
as a recruiter. The Air Force made this joke about how Marines are crayon eaters. And it backfired on the Air Force because we embraced the idea that we are so dumb we eat crayons. And so we wound up, eating crayons, literally. My favorite color is blue, right? Or flavor is blue. And
yeah,
so I took all of that and I was like, okay, so Marine tradition, this idea that we are more than just the red and the blue, put it
yeah,
together, you have Crayon Box Politics. Me personally, I would love to not be aligned with a party, but
mhm,
the way that the party system is in the United States is such that if you are trying to run outside of one of the two major parties, you're up against insurmountable odds, and it's almost
yeah,
easier to run with a party, and then make your decisions based off of that. And hey, if the next time around the party wants to primary me, then the party wants to primary me.
yeah,
Um, but at the end of the day, I stood up for my constituents, which is something that we don't have in today's political world.
yeah,
um, Democrats and Republicans alike, they'll get up there and they will vote party line. And
mhm,
they'll vote party line even if their constituents don't want them to vote party line.
yeah,
So, and that's the aspect. I look at all of those things and I think to myself, well, I would love to be non-affiliated, but in order for me to be non-affiliated and run, it's impossible. And I really want to get into office. And right now, the party that aligns with my values
uh-huh,
is the Democratic Party. Hopefully, one day the Republican Party will come back around to my
yeah,
values, but currently, that's the party that I have to put my
yeah.
eggs in the basket of.
Yeah, it is troubling to think about because I think about that too. Like, could I be a politician? Because I with having views from both sides, yeah, you do get stuck with your color. And I don't like the two-party system anyways, but I see John Fetterman, who who seems to genuinely be trying to do the best job he can by working with both sides. And then I hear that
Mhm.
the Democrats are trying to kick him out, or Trump is attacking Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Rand Paul for voting against him. And it's like, so is there some invisible game that we're all playing and they're breaking the rules? It feels like that's what this is to them.
Well, I would say I don't think it's an invisible game. I think it's very visible. I think we
Mm-hmm.
can see it playing out every single day when they have these conversations. I mean, Marjorie
Yeah.
Taylor Greene, whose voice is like nails on a chalkboard to me. But she made a lot of good points up in the lead up to
Mm-hmm.
the vote on releasing the Epstein files.
Mm-hmm.
And even during the closure of the government, she made really good points about how the Republican Party, they rail against ACA,
Yeah.
but they don't have a replacement for it.
Right.
And they don't have a plan to replace it. They
Right.
say, oh, we've got parts of a plan, but we don't really have a plan.
Yeah.
And she's like, listen, we
Yeah.
have to have a plan. We can't keep playing this game.
Yeah.
And they ran her out of town because she called them out. Right.
Yeah.
And Thomas Massey, same thing. They're trying to run him out, but he's more seasoned than she is. And I
Yeah.
think she has ulterior motives. I think she's looking at either a gubernatorial run
Yeah.
or a presidential run.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens there in her future. But
It will be.
I'm reserving my judgment on her for right now.
Yeah.
I don't trust her, but
I know. I haven't liked how she's handled all of this, but she does make great points. And the Affordable Care Act, Trump was bashing that before he won the first time. So he's had 8 years, because I'm not going to believe he wasn't working on his second term during his 4 years off. It's like, all right, so we still haven't figured something out, an alternative. So we're trying to get rid of it, and we don't have a replacement. All right, got it.
And now he's spouting this talk about wanting to give the money directly to the people so they can create their own plan. And in my mind, I'm going, that's socialism. But it's like, okay, well, if that's the plan, then let's do it, right?
Yeah.
Let's do this process where we're giving a subsidy to the people for healthcare insurance. If that's how we want to play it.
Yeah.
Me personally, I'm all about a single payer system. Because then that eliminates the rich insurance companies altogether, because now the United States taxpayers are paying to keep our country healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Are there downsides to that process? Absolutely. Like, what about the morons that, like me, I used to smoke, right? That's me affecting my health. Should I really warrant the health care that's associated with that at the expense of the taxpayer? So I get that there are those sub arguments, but at the end of the day, how do we make sure that everyone has access to healthcare? Well, the easiest way to do that is a single payer system, in my mind.
So how can everyday citizens cut through the noise and become genuinely informed voters? It's a little bit of a shift, but.
Yeah. So, I mean, the short answer to this is when the archivist comes out, use the archivist.
Okay.
But that's self-serving to me, right? But the longer answer is make time. A lot of what we see today, and a lot of the reasons why people are not political, is because they don't make the time. And they use, I work a 40-hour work week. When I come home, I'm tired. I got to make dinner, yada, yada. I get that, right? Like, if I were to say, oh, well, I don't agree with that, that'd be me showing my privilege, because I'm a retired military vet and I've turned into running my own company from home. So I've got all the time in the world to do whatever I want. Not really, because running a company and a podcast takes forever.
Yeah.
But the reality is that, for me to say make the time is my privilege showing. So what I do recommend is, as much as possible, get involved. Maybe not at the federal level. Like, America doesn't need everyone at the federal level. America needs more people at the local level, working with their governments, going to their town halls, going to their city council meetings, their county meetings, where they sit with the county board of governors, and they or commissioners, and they talk to them directly to figure out what's going on in their community. Because the most effect that anyone will have is at the local level. We like to talk about, the presidential election. Well, what happened in your municipal election? Like, who did you vote for? Who's your mayor? A lot of people can't answer those questions. So I would say, to become a better, more informed electorate, the American people need to get involved at the local level. I was
Yeah.
on a different show where I talked to the fact that as an Intel analyst, I served at different levels of military command, and
Hmm.
the level of command where you actually see your intel being used and you see the impact that you're having is at the battalion or company level, because you're right there in the thick of it. And
Yeah.
the farther away you get from the line, the less you see how your information is affecting the battlefield. And the same thing applies to politics. The further away you get
Hmm.
from the local level, the less your voice is heard, because it gets drowned out in the multitude of voices that are being shouted from the rooftops. So if
Yeah.
you really want to have that say and you really want to be that informed, start locally and work your way from there.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's I've noticed that it's hard for people to get started. So I try to encourage everyone. My audience is going to get tired of hearing this, but I did Iowa caucus, and it was my first Iowa caucus. I was a caucus captain, did a speech, and I harassed people like crazy to come to caucus, and I only got like 5 people. They were the youngest people there, and I'm like, "Okay, so maybe next time I can get 10." Or maybe, if they each all bring 1 extra person. So it seems small, but a lot of them just needed to be told, "Just show up here. You're gonna put your vote in, and then there's gonna be a meeting. You're gonna vote on planks." Like, it's not a big deal. No one's gonna pressure you about anything. Like, just show up.
Mm-hmm.
Um but I think a lot of people are just afraid to step into something new, especially if they don't have somebody else to do that with them.
Yeah, I love the idea of the caucus. Like every time we have a presidential election, I'm always like zeroed in on the Iowa
Yeah.
caucuses, because they're done in such a way that you can see democracy happening
Yeah.
in the room. You're watching. You're like, oh, this makes sense. This works.
Yeah.
And you can actually understand how things are getting counted.
Mhm.
The downside to the caucus is you're doing it all publicly, right? And
Yeah.
and that's why we moved to the Australian voting system, so that you didn't have to worry about people knowing you and judging you for where you stood.
Yeah.
Um, but I, I love the caucus idea, and I love watching it. So the fact that you're bringing people to it, like for me, that's huge, because from the political perspective that I have, when I hear someone say, "Oh, I didn't vote this year because my vote doesn't count," I cringe.
Yeah.
And even my close friends, I've had friends that have told me um, those words like verbatim,
Yeah.
and I feel like I've been stabbed in the back, because they're not they're not using their voice. And I
Yeah.
can understand, again, the higher up you go, the less your voice is going to be heard. But if you focus on your local level, you'll see those changes happen a lot faster.
Mhm.
So but with you 100%. And if your listeners get tired of you telling them to go caucus, well, guess what? Go caucus,
Yeah.
because it's important.
Yeah. Yep. Every other state, it's a primary, right?
Hmm.
Like, I've never been, participated in another state, so I don't really know what it's like in other states, how the primary process works, I guess. So that's something I need
Yeah,
to
I
learn
mean,
about.
so I lived in California and North Carolina.
Mhm.
Last year was actually the first year I voted in the state of North Carolina,
Okay.
um, because I was in the process of establishing North Carolina as my home.
Okay.
Um, the military brought me out here, and I planted roots, and I love it out here. But
Yeah.
I'm originally from California. And the way that the primaries work is based off of your party, right? If you're a
Mhm.
registered Democrat, you vote in the Democrat primary. If you're a registered
Okay.
Republican, you vote in the Republican primaries. And the cool thing about those is that's where you decide who's actually going to run for office.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't show up for it because it's like, who cares? Well, guess what? Like you failing to show up means that you got the wrong person to run
Mhm.
for office.
Yeah.
Um, I'll add, right? Like there was a lot of attacks on the Democratic Party and Kamala Harris specifically, in that she was anointed to be the
Yeah.
next candidate.
Yeah.
But the primaries really, they're more of a check in the box than they
Mhm.
are anything else. And what I mean by that is that when it comes to delegates, those
Yeah.
delegates don't have to vote for who you want them to vote for. And matter of fact, 90% of the time they don't, because what happens is you get to the convention and there's wheeling and dealing, like, hey, give me your delegates and I'll give you my delegates, or delegates from one state will vote a certain way. And it's done in a way to make sure that the right person gets the job. So it's still shady, right?
Yeah.
I mean, no matter which party it is, they're both really shady.
Yeah.
The Democratic Party is just a little bit more transparent about how shady they are. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So my argument, or my counter argument to the whole Kamala getting anointed is, well, she was going to be vice president again.
Yeah.
And it just made sense for Biden to send all of his delegates in her direction. So they
Yeah.
didn't need to run a primary because it was going to happen.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and then it was so late in the game too. I'm not sure what else they really could have done at that point. Yeah. And then the funding, I mean, money had already been thrown to that, correct?
Yeah. I mean, money had already been tossed in that direction. There was the issue of making sure that they hit a registration deadline in order to get the correct name on the ballot for the general elections. So like there was a whole bunch of things that they were running up against, and like those are there, and those are valid points. But I focus on the primaries aren't really a big deal in the sense of the party doesn't have to adhere to it. But they're important because it allows the voter to tell the party, hey, this is who I want.
Yeah. Yep.
So that it's one of those weird, not important but important situations.
Yeah. Yeah, and I could see where if it was kind of a close, who was going to get it, I could see where they might go with somebody else. I know for most of the Iowa counties, like for the GOP, it was Trump blew everybody else out of the water. However, if it had been close with like Trump and Vivek or DeSantis or something, maybe, I don't know, maybe down the road it would have become somebody else. But
yeah, but let's just be honest, Vivek would have just handed it over to Trump anyways if he had gotten, I mean, like, his whole primary campaign was nothing but I love Trump. So it's like, why are you running, bro?
Yeah, he's very nice. But yeah, it was kind of like I didn't. Some of the people running against Trump, it's like, you're younger. Let's just wait and run a different time. So yeah, that's funny. I haven't been seeing how he's doing in Ohio with his run out there. But
yeah, I haven't looked in on him in a while.
Yeah.
I've been so focused on the federal government.
Yeah.
Because it's like news story after news story after news story after news story, and it's
I had no idea what I was getting into when I started this. So in two days it'll be my 1-year anniversary with this podcast, and I kind of started where things were kind of dying down. The election was over last year, and I didn't have a lot to do as far as my little news updates, and I cannot keep up with my news updates anymore. They're coming out days late, and it's just like, and then stuff is changing, and I thought things were going to slow down over the holidays, and boy, it's the opposite.
Yep.
Like it's
fooled ya. I tend to think that a lot of the major news stories we're starting to see now are because of the fact that the Epstein files are supposed to be released. And also because of the fact that they're supposed to have a debate and a vote on extending the ACA subsidies. And both of those things are not strong conservative points right now.
Yeah.
They're definitely not strong MAGA points, because like, how do you account for the fact that certain individuals who are leaders of the movement are on the list for flying to the Epstein Island? Like, how do you account for that? And so I think that a lot of this is noise in order to kind of cover up those stories, right? And that sounds a lot of me being like, ooh, like this is a cover up and like conspiracy theory. It's not. I promise you, I'm not a conspiracy theorist whatsoever. I think that there's a lot of things where people are like, oh, they're covering it up. no, they're not. I promise you. Like I existed in the federal government. The federal government is not that good. I promise you. They're not. Somebody would have said something by now.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, just looking at it from that perspective, I think that those are some things that are coming up there. My personal eye is on the Venezuela situation. I'm very concerned about the potential for us to go into Venezuela and get into an armed conflict. A lot of the things that we're hearing coming out of the administration right now are reminiscent of the pre-Iraq war messaging that came out of the Bush administration. So as I look at from that perspective, and I look at it, my concern is that we could find ourselves in an armed conflict within the next 90 days, and that's not encouraging whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. That's and that's also not what anyone voted for. No one wanted that. So it's been interesting to see how we've been dealing with other countries. I love that we're making peace plans and helping other countries come to peace. But the I don't know, the attacks on other countries is kind of nerve-wracking, I guess. A little bit worrisome.
To be fair, we've been attacking other countries with impudence for years,
true.
Right? Like, I mean, oh, there's a terrorist in Yemen, bomb him. Oh, there's a terrorist in Pakistan, bomb them. Right? Like, oh, Osama bin Laden, let's send a team in to go get Osama bin Laden without actually doing any coordination with the country that we're sending the team into. Like all of those things. I mean,
that is, you make a really good point too, because I don't think a lot of people know that we're striking people almost all the time. It's it's just not in the news a lot.
It's easy to cover up when it's a onesie twosie and not thousands.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to tell you about my sponsors real quick. Sometimes I get on a roll cleaning or gardening, and I need a boost, but don't have time for a meal. Big Fork Brand's pork jerky is the perfect choice to keep my momentum, offering high-protein snacks for on-the-go energy boosts. Not only do they offer pork jerky, but they also make pork sticks, bacon sausage, bacon hot dogs, and burger and hot dog sauces. Products come in a variety of delicious flavors, including Thai green curry and maple and brown sugar for the meat options, and gangster and Chicago fire for the sauces. I personally think the original flavor of the pork jerky hits just right after tackling a big chore. It's a little salty and very flavorful. My discount code gives you 20% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit bigforkbrands.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. Are you looking for a gift for a music lover, or maybe some apparel to show off your quirky side? Old Glory has you covered. With over 300,000 officially licensed items covering music, sports, entertainment, and pop culture, you're guaranteed to find the perfect item. They even have seasonal gear. My husband enjoys the Beatles and Led Zeppelin apparel, and I love the Billy Idol apparel. I even found items for my fellow plant enthusiasts. This family-owned superstore is known for their quality and customer service, offers free standard shipping on all orders, and orders are shipped the same day you purchase. My discount code gives you 15% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit oldglory.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. Looking for a game-changing way to improve your health? Zevo Life is the world's most nutrient-dense whole plant, packed with over 50% plant protein, essential amino acids, fiber, and antioxidants. Harnessing the best nature has to offer, Zevo Life nourishes your body while driving your performance, vitality, and overall well-being. Each serving is a concentrated source of clean, well-balanced nutrition designed to support modern lifestyles, and just 1 teaspoon a day supports your gut, boosts energy, and promotes healthier skin and hair. It's no wonder that it's receiving rave 5-star reviews. Step into a healthier future with a 30% discount and a 30-day risk-free guarantee by visiting zivo.life and using my promo code. To support my show and to receive 30% off your entire order, enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. Yes, right. So I think we kind of talked about this about like what trends in political culture worry you the most, and which ones give you hope.
So the number one trend that worries me is, and I'm going to sound like a doom and gloom
Yeah.
libtard real quick. What worries me is the way that there is an almost constant attack on our political and democratic norms
Hmm.
within the realm of the federal government, as well as states' rights.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not that I think that Donald Trump is, it's not predominantly that I think that Donald Trump is a wannabe dictator. Do I see linkages from an intelligence analyst point of view? Absolutely, 100%. Like I can sit here and connect dots all day long.
Hmm.
But I don't think that he has enough time to alter the way that our government operates to allow him to take advantage and
Yeah.
become the authoritarian that the far left fears that he's going to become.
Right.
However, uh, his actions, both in 1.0 and in 2.0,
Hmm.
coupled with the actions that came from Biden and Obama and Bush and Clinton and Bush Sr., all of those things, they add up, right?
Yeah.
And my concern is that that political pendulum is always swinging. And right now we've swung far right. My concern is that we're going to swing back to the left.
Yeah.
And whoever gets into office will probably end up being that politician with that amount of time to actually do what this administration is unable to do.
Hmm.
And so my concern is that we're going to flip and we're going to have an authoritarian regime, but it's going to come from the left, not the right.
Yeah.
Um, that's my number one concern, because
Yeah.
I think America is ripe for an authoritarian regime,
Hmm.
because of the fact that Americans in general just don't pay attention anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, what gives me hope? Uh, the states. Um,
Okay.
I would say that, the states themselves give me hope.
Hmm.
And if you read the Constitution, if you read the Articles of Confederation, you read the Federalist Papers and the Anti-Federalist Papers, and you look at our history.
Hmm.
Historically, what happens is, as the federal government starts to kind of get too big for its britches, the states step in and say, "Whoa, bro! Like, get back
Yeah.
in your corner. This
Yeah.
is our realm, right?" And we're seeing concerning things coming out with gerrymandering, but I almost think it's a good thing that this gerrymandering debate is happening, because
Hmm.
what could happen, right, is that the states are going to come back to the table and say, "You know what? We got a little bit crazy. Let's go ahead and bring
Yeah.
this, dial this back, and let's go independent commissions to set these things
Hmm.
up." Um, but the fact that the states are willing to step up and say, "No, we're not going to follow you on these things
Hmm.
because of X, Y, and Z. No, we don't agree with the fact that you're pushing National Guard into our cities. No, we don't agree with the way that you are using ICE to racially profile and identify people with brown skin as potentially illegal immigrants."
Hmm.
So, like, those things give me a lot of hope.
Yeah.
And then you couple that with the fact that Gen Z and Gen Alpha, which is coming up, despite the fact that they've got horrible vocabulary, 6, 7, I had to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
but like they are very in tune with what is going on, and they're in
yeah.
tune not only with what is going on, but they're also in tune with society and
Yeah.
how their decisions impact society overall. I think that
Yeah.
those two things, the states standing up for themselves and Gen Z, Gen Alpha having that social understanding and social
Hmm.
recognition, are two positive things that could help us avoid slipping into that authoritarian state.
Yeah. Yes. I worry for certain generations with the future. I feel like technology is just moving so fast, and with AI, I see a lot of people getting tricked by AI lately, and I kind of worry for their mental health, really. Some of this stuff is just like I don't know. It's
I don't know. Anyways, what does the future of civic technology look like, and how will tools like the archivist, sorry, change public engagement?
So to your point, right? The problem with AI is that it can be fooled. The problem
Yeah.
with AI is that when you ask it a question, if you adjust your wording in such a way, you
Mhm.
can get the answer that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And so what we are doing with the archivist is we're not giving the ability to tweak the personality. We're not giving the ability to tweak the output because
Yeah.
the information that it's going to provide is just the raw data. We're not trying to tell a story. We're not trying to convince anyone what is really going on. We're just providing the raw data, right? Down
Mhm.
the road, we do have a hope of pulling in and incorporating news articles and news stories, and then maybe eventually social media posts,
Yeah.
um, for the purpose of providing context, right? So, hey, this bill got pushed through, and these are the things that drove why this bill got pushed through.
Yeah.
I think that is the route that AI should take, when it comes to public involvement and public knowledge and public information when it comes as far as the government goes.
Mhm.
Um, where could we be headed? Well, it again, it depends. You look at Grok.
Yeah.
Grok was created by Elon Musk, and if you ask it a very pointed question, you're going to get a very conservative centric,
Mhm.
MAGA centric response. Whereas if you go to OpenAI, you're going to get a more liberal, progressive response.
Yeah.
So we're going to wind up in the same dynamic if we aren't careful, where we're going
Yeah.
to have AI that functions as an echo chamber that just reinforces all of these ideas,
Yeah.
and makes it easier. And then add to that the fact that I don't know how many times I've asked. I use AI to help me like do research,
Yeah.
and primarily
Absolutely.
as a research assistant. Like I
Yeah.
don't. It doesn't write any of my papers. We tried that a little bit, got a little bit of pushback, and I was like, okay, we're going to let those
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Um, but it doesn't write my papers. And the reason it doesn't write my papers is because when it gives me sources, I'll check those sources. And the
Yeah.
number of times that I have found a source that does not exist or is
Yeah.
completely false.
Mhm.
So we need to make sure that when we are utilizing these tools, we're utilizing them in the right way.
Yeah.
So as far as how is civic tech going to evolve participation, well, that's to be seen. It's the Wild West right now as far as how we incorporate technology like artificial intelligence into the civic sector, and keep the American populace informed and engaged.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've run into some of those same issues. I don't use any of the other ones. I use Grok, and I've noticed that if it has been updated in any way, the responses are a little bit different than what I usually get. And then as for writing, it's not my words or the way I talk, and so if I'm trying to use that, I have to reword everything because I just can't read it and speak properly. Um, but yes, I found that same thing with the sources. I had asked it for, heartwarming animal stories for my end of the year episode, and it took one, like, headline and then made up the entire rest of the story because I wanted to add pictures, and I'm like, "Okay, so you just gave me 20 stories that you just made up. That's not what I asked for." And it was I mean,
Mhm.
some things it's impossible. Now, if I put in, how all my different fish species and what water levels or, water parameters I want for all these species, what substrates, it's going to keep track of all of that and give me like the best advice for my aquarium possible. But yeah, if you're trying to report things factually, AI is great, but it's not always correct is
Mhm.
what I'm noticing. And yeah, I think if people are seeing something and they're like, "Huh, that's weird." Don't just go with it because AI told you it was correct. You research it a little bit more.
Right. Yeah. Trust but verify. Right.
Yeah.
And remember back in the good old days of Google, when
Yeah.
Google was first rolling out, everyone's
Yeah.
like, "Don't trust Google," and nowadays, you Wikipedia, which used to be this cesspool of false information, is
Uh-huh.
now one of the more trusted sources of information on the web.
Yeah.
And that's because they cleaned it up and they fixed it. Google used to be one of the trusted sources, and then they found out that advertising is great and makes them a lot of money. And so they put advertisements front and forward, which means that the positive things that you would normally get out of Google are gone. I think we might see the same trend with regards to AI when it comes to researching processes, just because as we develop and hone it, it gets better. But going back to the archivist ain't going to be able to do any of that false information because it's strictly going to be pulling from specific government data sources. Now, whether or not the government data sources are valid, I can't control that one.
Right. I don't think anyone can, you know? So, yeah, I really like that idea. I think it's, I think when people can actually see something, have the data in front of them and right there, instead of having to wade through, is this correct or not? It's, I think it's going to be so much more effective. What is one thing that what's one piece of government data or political process that you think every American should understand but doesn't?
Oh, it's such a complicated question. Because there's so many things. What I would say is understanding the differences between the branches of government. You know, we hear a lot of times, oh, the Supreme Court just passed. No, the Supreme Court didn't pass. The Supreme Court made a ruling on a thing that was passed by either a state legislative body or the federal legislative body. Understanding that the president doesn't have the authority to write laws into action and that those executive orders are temporary. I mean, the one thing that I had no idea of was that the equal employment opportunity process, it was one of the first things that Donald Trump nixed when he got into office the second time around. And I was like, mind blown that was an executive order and that wasn't something that was passed by Congress. And so it blew me out of the water. So the important thing to understand is, you know, the Supreme Court is there to play referee. The legislative body, Congress, is there to write the rules and set up how we're going to play the game. And the executive branch is there to play the game. And so if all three of those bodies function appropriately, we have a smooth running government and we are reliable to our allies because we have a steadfast process of how we do things. But when you get one that is overbalanced and gets more power, it winds up in a situation like we have today where the other two branches really don't have any ability to say anything because they're unwilling to take back that control because it's not something that people want them to do. But which leads us to that whole, we want satisfaction now, not later. Right? And when you do things the right way, that satisfaction comes over lengthy periods of time. So that's what I would say is understanding how the branches of government work.
Wasn't a big one Roe v. Wade? That was something that wasn't actually put. That's
yeah. Roe v. Wade was one of those, and you know, we thought I would say most Americans thought Roe v. Wade was settled law, and did not see the Dobbs decision coming. And when it did come out, it threw everyone through a loop. But I think that also helped because it woke everyone up. And it was like, hey, guess what? We can't rely on the Supreme Court and their decisions to make law for us because that's the wrong way of doing things. So we have to have the legislative body do their job. And we also have to have the executive branch do its job. There's one law out there that was passed by Congress that this administration still has not enacted, and that is the ban on TikTok.
I'd like to know what the hell's going on with that. That's, you know, I'm like, what is it? All year, I'm just like, what's going on with TikTok? Like, what? I don't know. they keep getting extensions and whatever, and I don't know. It's I'm curious as to what's really happening. I get well, also daylight savings time. Like, isn't that just something that's I don't care where we lock the clock, but isn't that kind of an easy win to just do away with the changing of the time?
Yeah, but the farmers won't like you.
Well, they have lights on their equipment now. I see them all hours of the day farming the field across from my house. They can deal with it. Yeah.
That's the complicated thing, right?
Mhm.
Like something that seems as simple as stopping this insane change of time at weird times of the year, and actually setting the standard is so complicated because you do have all these lobbies that sit up in Capitol Hill and say, hey, if you do this, we're going to primary you. Well,
Right.
now I have to raise more money.
Yeah.
So that's the unfortunate thing, is that there's always these different groups of people that say, oh, but that goes back to the taking time to make change. So.
Yeah. There's a couple that I'm just like, how is this not solved? Yeah. And then TikTok's just one that's where I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like the audience to know?
I mean, honestly, politics is messy. Politics is painful. Having political discourse can at times result in boiling of tensions. I mean, I know that I've had the anger, outrage, outbursts when I talk to people, but we have to keep talking. I think that for the American people, it is important to know that is like our number one civic duty, is to talk about these issues. I mean, you voted for Trump, I voted for Kamala, and we had a very nice conversation today, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, like, it's possible. We just have to break out of the stereotypes in our head, in those biases, and just allow for that conversation to occur. And when we do that, I think what we'll find is that we are not as polarized as the media would like us to be, or to think that we are.
Yeah, I agree. It makes me sad to see people losing friendships and abandoning family because of politics, of politicians who don't know who you are and don't care what you're doing every day.
Yep.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it. So, all right, where can everybody find you? And shout out your website.
So our podcast is, you can find us on any of the major podcasting platforms.
Okay.
Just all you got to do is search for Crayon Box Weekly.
Okay.
Our website is www.crayonboxpolitics.com. I'd like to give a shout out for a survey that we're running right now on the website. It's one of the cards when you get to the homepage. But that survey it's what I use to determine how far away I had gotten from the GOP. But what we are using it for is to identify and prove that Americans are not as polarized as the media thinks that we are. So the more participation on that we get, the better the results will be, and the better picture we can paint. So if your listeners have the time, it is 30 questions, but the information will be extremely useful in the long run to allow us to kind of paint that picture of America as America and not America as the red and the blue.
Yeah. And how long are you running this survey?
I don't have a plan to cut it off. So I'm going to run it as long as possible. Hopefully I can have something by this summer so that,
great.
When it does come to general election season, I can push this out there and be like, hey, listen, we're not that different from each other. So let's vote on the issues instead of voting based on the color of the party that we belong to.
Yeah. Yep. I love it. I'll make sure to share that and get everything out. And I'm going to find you on all the social medias and make sure to tag you in everything once this is out. So
awesome. And I'll give you a follow back. So follow for follow.
Perfect. Sounds good. Love it.
All right.
So, and I'll keep in touch with you on Podmatch and let you know give you all the links to the episode and everything. So
sounds great. Thank you, Sam.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. All right.
Bye.